Let's talk about the future of pro Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. As it stands right now, there are currently only a handful of athletes in the world who can make their money off just competing. And most of them don't make their money solely off competing, but they supplement their income with seminars. But this creates a catch 22 because in order to sell seminars, they have to do well in competitions. And in order to do well in competitions, you have to train. But in order to do a seminar, you have to take away from your training, so therefore you're not getting as good in competition. So the people who are able to focus entirely on training and only on training, maybe they film instructionals and get passive money through their instructionals, they're able to get much better and therefore achieve much higher levels of competition. And if they wanted to, do more seminars. But again, the whole point of this is they can't be relying just on seminars to make their money. So where is this going? In the future, I'm hoping and I'm thinking, and it seems like more people are going to be getting paid just to do regular jiu-jitsu matches because more people are just watching straight up regular jiu-jitsu matches. So with more people comes more money. And with more money, eventually the athletes will start getting paid like a standard pay across the board. But this is not cut and dry because there's not just one jujitsu. There's a bunch of different rules of jujitsu, and ADCC is obviously the most popular, but it only happens every 2 years. Then it comes down to the most prestigious, traditionally are like the IBJJF tournaments, but people don't watch those. That's not like a spectator-friendly sport. Then it's Eddie Bravo Invitationals, which are much more spectator-friendly, and they do pay out more money. Then there is Fight to Win. There's other matches on Full Grappling. And those seem to be where it's going, and it seems like there will be more standard base pay, but there's no uniform rule set. There are different rules, but who's number one? That is sort of rising to be one of the number one rule sets that people are competing in. And really, it's just going to come down to who's willing to sign the checks. And since, honestly, people at the higher levels of society, literally Mark Zuckerberg, Joe Rogan, these people influence millions of individuals. These people are excited and promoting Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. On top of this, the UFC has sort of become like mainstream at this point. People know what it is. It's no longer this big underground thing. It's common. People, oh yeah, I know this thing. And where did the UFC start? Well, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has its roots in it. And I think that's really helping people sort of make the bridge and the gap. When it comes down to practitioners, people obviously love training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu way more than MMA because you don't like getting, like, most people don't like getting hit, to be honest. Like, fighting in the cage is a little bit brutal, but training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu can be quite relaxing and enjoyable depending on how you structure your training in the academy and whatnot. So the future, I think, is going to involve higher base pay of athletes, but it needs to be more entertaining and engaging. This goes back to the IBJJF. People don't watch these matches. Traditionally, well, people don't watch these matches because they're poorly broadcasted. The rule set favors stalling. The culture of Brazilian matches, honestly, has favored stalling. It favors winning by points. It doesn't really favor submission hunting. Now, obviously, there's exceptions, and each athlete is their own individual. But in general, if you're watching an IBJJF match, you can expect people to win by points. You will not expect a submission more times than, I don't know. It depends on the athlete, but I really do think that it would have to be more engaging. And what's engaging? It's submissions. So submissions are not favored in rule sets. I think a rule set where people get paid only if they submit people, or they get paid bonus if they submit or be submitted, like, that would be a very interesting rule set. Infinite timeline, like no time rules, no timeline matches, are kind of boring to watch. It's, yeah, who's better at jiu-jitsu overall, but it's really a long drag out kind of deal if people want to make it a long drag out deal. So shorter time frame matches where you're only getting paid if you submit people, or you're getting paid no matter what, but you get paid a lot more if you submit somebody, or you're getting penalized by not submitting somebody by getting paid less. I think literally financially tying submissions to that, to athletes' incentive is what is going to make more exciting matches, because people are just going to go for it. I also think having to bridge the gap between someone who doesn't know what jiu-jitsu is and someone who does is going to be very important. So this is going to be the job of the commentators, the job of the presenters of the matches. I think something like, honestly, I really want to experiment with wearing biofeedback devices while doing jiu-jitsu, such as a heart rate monitor, a blood oxygen saturation monitor, so that way you can see which athlete is working harder. So that way the game of exhaustion, which is normally invisible or unspoken, or you can sort of estimate it based on how hard someone's breathing or whatever, you can actually break it down to a science. You can see how many breaths they're taking per minute. You can see their heart rate. You can see their blood oxygen. So all of these things would allow an additional insight into what's going through the athlete's mind. So if someone is literally just sitting on top and making small adjustments, it's not necessarily just a boring, okay, like what's happening match, and the commentator's like, well, he looks like he's working hard. And you can maybe see their actual health bar ticking away. Like, if Jacob Couch was wearing a heart rate monitor when Gordon Ryan was submitting him by pressure, I would have loved to see what his heart rate is, what his blood oxygen saturation was, what his breaths per minute were. That would have made for excellent television.
Going high, gets the finish there. Oh, from the S-mount, purely from pressure. Didn't even need to finish with the armbar.
This is the future of pro Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if you ask me. It's more entertaining matches that people who have never seen Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu can get behind and watch and get excited about. And we're going to have to innovate a little bit. And if flow grappling is going to be the one that's going to take us there, they have to keep stepping up their game. They have to keep making it more accessible to people. They have to make these matches easier to organize. There has to not be all this dead time, which is another problem, is dead time between matches and tournament structure organizations. I personally hate waiting a long time to see the matches, so all these things are going to have to be innovated on. But I think in general, everybody's kind of putting up their own little piece of the puzzle, and as more money comes in, it's just going to get better and better and bigger and bigger. So that, in my opinion, is the future of pro Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If you want to support the channel, leave me comments and ideas of things to talk about. Peace.